So, my name is Mariam Natroshvili. I'm artist based in Tbilisi, Georgia, and I'm here to talk about the Museum of Contemporary Art, which is on call. Kind of an imaginary museum, a museum without a building, without walls, which can be anywhere, actually. So we started with an idea. We are working on this project already for 3 years, and we started with a idea that that there was no museum in Tbilisi. There is no museum of contemporary art, as we know. It's like there are some museums, like art museums, are quite strange. For example, we have a museum called MoMA Tbilisi, which is basically the private museum of one Soviet artist based in Russia. So he bought a building, he made his collection, he put his collection into this museum and named it MoMA. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, I also want my own museum. I also want a museum that would be mine. So this is a question which appeared in Tbilisi like about 7 or 8 years ago. It was incognito question in the streets, graffiti. Where is the Museum of Contemporary Art here? And I'm sorry. And the answer, as I told you, is that yeah, there is no museum. I'm sorry. Of contemporary art. So Georgia is a country in Caucasus, still like it's after 90s, which were really hard period for Georgia, like all this post-Soviet crisis that we had, like wars, civil war, economical crisis. They have already sorry again. They already ended, but ghosts, Soviet ghosts are still we have still Soviet ghosts, especially in the state institutions. So all the state institutions connected to art are quite Soviet, as an academy, also the museums and the national galleries. So it's impossible for artists of new generation get inside and work with these institutions, unfortunately. So in the 90s, it was really hard. So actually what happened in the 90s, all the archives were gone. Like also even the archive of KGB and main like archives of police and etc., they all disappeared. I'm not speaking already about, I don't know, art archives and etc., because of this transition, because of the civil wars, and because of this crisis. Nobody was thinking to keep an archive, and nothing was documented. Most of the things that were going in the art world, and so archives are kind of in a spoken word. Some of the artworks are like there is no photo or video documentation of some of the works, and it's only words that we have. So but in 90s, all this crisis taught a lot to us in a way, because for my generation, what we studied in 90s in frozen schools was how to do everything yourself. Like starting from clothing up to even Museum of Contemporary Art. We decided, as I told you, like 3 years ago, we decided to make a do-it-yourself museum. We started to make a research. As I told you, archives, there are no archives about contemporary art, so we had to investigate everything ourselves. We started to interview artists, art historians, and to collect all the material that they had, and all the stories that they told us. So far, for 1 year, we interviewed about 80 people, which was actually also a psychotherapy sessions for the artists, and we collected quite huge material, and then we started to think, okay, now we have so many information, and now we somehow have to share it with public. You know this pizza delivery thing. So that's the structure that we decided to use, and we bought a suitcase from eBay. We printed the selected works. We have also a tablet in which we show videos, and people can call us, and we go at home, in apartments, and we make a tour in contemporary art of Georgia. It's like about 2 hours. We're speaking with the hosts or guests of the museum, and we're discussing as a contemporary art history, also like different political and social issues to which the works in our museum are connected. So first part of the museum was the story of Georgia. We have works from 80s until today, and the story of Georgia is, the works are connected to some topics, political and social topics, and we try to discuss all these topics with the help of the works. There are two important concepts for the museum. First, it is an intervention into private space, so it's important that we are in the space of the people who want to hear about the museum, and like turning these apartments into temporary museums. And the second is a storytelling, like talking, because without the spoken word, it's just only images and videos, and it's really important to have a discussion, to have a spoken word. And it's also in a way a traditional thing, because also in Georgia, and also it's maybe in Eastern countries, in the beginning of 20th century, there were guys who were storytellers who were going to the markets and public spaces and telling different stories. It was kind of theatrical performance. So, and also for us, this is a platform for discussions, for discussing different topics as are wars, Soviet Union, Soviet heritage also, I don't know, religious radicalism, nationalism, and etc. So then we discovered that museums in Georgia have quite yeah, and here you can see how it happens. So it's showing the works and telling the stories. And we discovered that in Georgia, museums have kind of a nomadic fate, because first moving museum in Georgia was made in 19th century by first professional photographer Alexander Roinashvili, who was traveling in the villages of Caucasus making photos of different ethnographical artifacts, and then traveling in Russian Empire and showing the images to the people. And the second story is that during when the Georgia was occupied by Soviet army, Eftime Taqaishvili, who was one writer, he decided to take all the artifacts from the museum, like Christian and archaeological artifacts, to France to save it. So museum was in immigration for 25 years. Then he came back to Tbilisi, and now we have in this collection in the art museum. So it's like nomadism is in a way the fate, destiny of Georgian museums, I think. We have also the second version of the museum, which is an envelope, and we can send it to different people. And of course, when we're talking about not having wall and not having any place, that's where the digital world comes in a way. And this is our new chapter. Museum is going online soon. We're working on the digital version of the museum with one organization in Georgia, which is called GeoLab. It's an education platform for technologies mainly, but they are interested also in art projects. So we're working on the digital version, which will be online hopefully in the end of October, and it will be also in English, so you can check it out in the end of this month, next month. And the concept of the museum, like digital version, is the same. So as you see, we have the suitcase again, we have the works, and when you click on the works, my voice starts to talk. I start to talk, and I'm telling the stories of the artwork. So that's we didn't make up something new for the digital version. We decided to stay with the offline version to repeat it in online. But also the internet has quite big possibilities, and of course for art. And now what we're doing, like together with this, it will be kind of a platform this museum will have also like private. We are working also the private museums website, which will be the map of Tbilisi, and like the people who have collections, art collections, or anything connected to art and crafts, maybe also can mark their houses on the map, and it will be like the map of the private museums of Tbilisi, and anyone who is interested can go to these places, to apartments, and to check these private museums. And also now we're working on the spam exhibitions, which will be like museum has like temporary exhibitions will be spammed to different people, to probably a lot of people around the world. And so that's our concept for future, spamming with art, and turning art into viruses that can change maybe something. Thank you. That's it, I think.